What is going on, guys? Welcome to another race recap video. Today we're going over the second road race of the year, aka Mason Lake 1. There's another one next Saturday. There's two of them. They run them back to back. And we are racing the men's category 3, so let's get into it. So quick disclaimer before we get into the video. I screwed up the camera work. I'm still trying to get the hang of this camera thing. There's a couple of problems. The first one is that the battery on the Insta360 X3 is only like an hour and 20 minutes or so. And these road races are well over 2 hours, so I can't capture the whole race. So I typically capture the start, and then I try to capture whenever I think something interesting is going to happen, but that's not always the case. And then obviously I try to capture the finish line. So that's the first problem, is the battery life. And then the second problem is the way my camera is mounted. The recording indicator is fully covered by my bike computer, so I cannot see when it is recording or not. So sometimes I lose track of when I'm recording or when I'm not recording. And honestly, when I'm racing, just racing well and staying upright requires just my undivided mental attention. So it's really hard to keep track of, am I recording? How much of the battery have I used? And it's honestly dangerous to look down and be fiddling with it when I'm, in the middle of a road race. So yeah, I do apologize. There is no finish footage, but let's go over some of the footage that I do have, and we'll talk through the whole race, and I'll just show some of the data for the parts that we're missing. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so the course is about 12 miles of pretty hilly terrain. There's over 400 feet of elevation in each lap. And in Cat 3, we did 5 laps, so about 58 miles total. So here is all the lap data. As you can see, the first lap was actually the spiciest, normalizing almost 240 watts and going 24.7 miles per hour. And then, as is customary with these races, the kind of middle laps were a little bit more chill. So the second and third laps normalized 227 and 224, and we were going closer to 24 miles an hour. But still pretty hard. You can see that I'm averaging over 170 beats per minute, so definitely hard for me. So here are a couple clips of lap number 1. I kind of just pick and chose some segments where it got a little bit spicy and things started moving a little bit. So I'll just play through them and you can watch it. lap number 4, so something crazy actually happened here in this lap. You can see that my normalized power was extremely high, 251 watts. That is almost threshold for me. So extremely hard, almost 180 beats per minute average. So what happened in this lap, and I'll try to show some of the footage, is there was a breakaway that went with about 5 or 6 guys. And then right as we caught them, my teammate Ben and one other guy sent an attack, and they actually managed to get a pretty decent gap. So my teammate Ben and one other guy were up the road. He's super strong, so I knew that he could stay away. And for whatever reason, I decided to be a really selfless teammate, and I absolutely just dug a hole for myself by disrupting the chase as much as possible. So there were 5 or so guys who were probably the strongest in the field who got to the front and who started organizing themselves, and they were calling to rotate, doing kind of rotation signs with their hands, and they wanted to get a pace line going to chase this breakaway down. And I just tried my absolute hardest to stay right near the front. So I was always in the top 5 wheels, and I would just continually just not pull through. So every single time I would rotate through and the guy in front of me would pull off to end his pull, and I would just essentially soft pedal. And I mean, by soft pedal, I mean I was still doing like over 200 watts, so not like totally soft pedaling. But I don't know why this section was so hard. I mean, it seems like we were going pretty fast, but I think A, it was just really hard, but B, I think I was getting significantly less draft up front when there were only 2 or 3 guys in front of me, instead of just, in the middle of the peloton getting a massive draft. And it's not like I was doing any work into the wind. I was doing quite the opposite, trying not to do any work. But honestly, it was so much fun. I wasn't looking at my computer at all. I was just really feeling it in the moment. It was weird. I was almost in like a dream state where I wasn't feeling the pain at all. I was honestly kind of surprised afterwards when I found out that during this period, I did my second best ever 10-minute power at 263 watts, which is crazy to me. It just felt so good, and it was so much fun. And I knew that it was working really well, because here's what happened initially. On the very first turn, one guy flicks his elbow at me, and I just look at him and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not pulling. And he raises his hand at me to be like, yo, dude, what are you doing? Like, what the But I just don't respond. I don't do anything. I'm really good at just staying cool. And I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if he knew who was up the road. I mean, my teammate and I are wearing identical jerseys, so, there's pretty clear there. But pretty quickly, they started to get an idea of what I was doing, and they were just yelling a bunch of things. Initially, one guy was like, get the Apex guy out. He's not going to pull. They were yelling. I heard them yell like 3 or 4 times just around me. They were like, rotate around the Apex guy. Get on my wheel. We'll rotate around him. Like, he's not going to pull. Like, it was honestly really cool. And I genuinely think that this effort that I did here actively contributed to helping us not catch my teammate Ben, who did end up winning from that breakaway. But I didn't realize how much of a hole that I had dug for myself until I was looking at the stats and seeing that it was actually really hard. Honestly, I was even starting to cramp, so I was about to just be like, okay, I'm not going to ruin my race for my teammate. I'm sorry. But right when I was on the limit is actually when the chase group got totally dissuaded. So they were on the limit too. So I was able to fade back into the group and slowly recover for about a lap until the final sprint. Okay, so the final sprint, and again, I'm so sorry that I do not have footage for this, so we are just going off data. So like I mentioned, lap number 4 was extremely hard, and that's because we were chasing my teammate Ben, who was just up the road. I was just so cooked coming into the finish. I was literally on the verge of cramping in the middle of lap 4. But luckily, the last lap was super chill. I only normalized 219 watts in the last lap, which was the lowest out of every lap. So I was able to finally just recover a bit, get my heart rate down a little bit. I was able to actually bring it down to 135 at the lowest, which is like really low. So I rested a little bit, but my legs were, oh my God, the lactic acid was just huge. So we come in to 1K to go, and the group is not that big anymore. There's 2 guys off the front. We've dropped a couple in the back. So the pack is a little bit smaller. And I'm feeling okay. I was feeling kind of comfortable surfing around wheels, staying in a good position. But yeah, we just came into 200 meters to go, which is actually more than 200 meters to go. They gave us a heads up about that. And I have never seen so many people try to sprint and cramp. I saw a guy next to me, and he told me this after the race. He stood up and tried to sprint, and he literally just seized up. He was just standing rigid on his bike because his legs literally locked up. And that was the case with 3 or 4 other guys. The field was just so cooked. I don't think anyone realized how destroyed their legs were. So honestly, I managed a pretty mediocre sprint. I think my max power was only 749 watts, and my max 30-second power was 471 watts. So really like mediocre numbers even for myself. But I played it pretty well. I think because I was so cooked, I just tried to stay in the draft for as long as possible, and slowly but surely, people started to sprint too early, people started to fade. I was not even really sprinting, I was just kind of holding steady power going around people, and I literally just gave every ounce of what I had left with maybe 100 meters to go, and we came out ninth overall and 7th in the sprint because my teammate Ben and that one other guy were up the road. So honestly, I am super stoked. 2nd ever Cat 3 race. I think last time at Squim we got 14th or something, and now we get 9th. So super happy. Top 10 overall. Yeah, I'm just so happy. And as I cross the finish line, I get the most brutal cramps that I have ever experienced. Like, I was able to just hold it to the line, and then both my legs start locking up. I literally had to unclip both my legs and just dangle my legs, because if they were in a bent position, I was cramping. It was brutal, but yeah. My teammate Ben did end up getting the dub, so huge kudos to him. He won't be terrorizing Cat 3 anymore. He's up into Cat 2, and we're gonna get there soon as well. Yeah, 9th place, super happy. Honestly, just so happy and thankful to have stayed upright. There was not a single crash in our field, which I'm so thankful for. This race is usually extremely sketchy, and there were some crashes in some of the other categories, so really, you know, my heart goes out to some of my friends. Ended up in the hospital with broken wrists and tons of road rash, so I really feel for them. This race, it's just not. Multiple other guys have said that they're not going to do it anymore. It's just early in the season. The roads are usually wet. There's this crazy descent. It's a tough course, so people are trying to sprint in the end, and like people are literally cramping and swerving and like on the limit, and so it's honestly rough. So I'm really just super thankful to have stayed upright. And the fact that we got a top 10 is just cherry on the top. Yeah, that's my recap. Super excited to race some more. Mason Lake 2 is coming up again this Saturday. I have not decided if I'm going to do it. Honestly, I'm just so happy and satisfied. If it's going to rain, I think I'm just not going to do it. I don't want to push my luck. Somehow I still have not crashed in a race yet. I did have a crash on a team ride, which was pretty bad last year, but may or may not race it. Honestly, I'll probably end up deciding the day before, just like this race. But yeah, that's going to be it for this recap, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I promise I will get this camera stuff figured out. Yeah, stay tuned for more content. Peace out.